In this video, I'm going to show you how to assemble the album cover using our black construction tape, but you can also assemble it in the traditional way of wrapping it with card. The nice thing about using the tape is you won't get any ripping on the spine where the spine and the covers fold. So it stops and eliminates all of that, and you won't use any double-sided tape or glue either. So here's how it goes together. The first thing you want to do is edge your pieces, and with the album cover you edge 3 sides. So really easy to do. You take your tape, you put it onto the top edge of the side that you're covering, and with the tape sitting half on, half off that top edge, you take the tape to the corner and press down to within ½ inch of the corner, and then very slowly put your finger on the corner, top corner of the next side, and then just pull along until you get to the opposite corner, and then just flatten and pinch to within ½ inch of the corners, flattening the tape on either side, and then you turn and do that again for the last time on that third side, and then just pinch to within ½ inch of the corner. And then you can either rip the tape or cut. Titanium scissors are the best, really. They don't stick to the tape quite so much as standard scissors, and you just cut off. Flatten that down, trim off any excess, or just fold it around. And then take your scissors, so without pressing on these corners, you've got sticky up bits at the corner. You take your scissors, snip into the corner, lift one side up, press the other right down onto the chipboard, and then trim at an angle and press down. And then you get a really nice, neat corner. So you snip up to the corner, press one side down, snip the corner off of the other, and press it down. Now, if you've squashed your corner, you can just press it down. There will be an overlap. Just lift that overlap up, flatten down the sides as best you can, and then just snip off any excess, and then flatten. Or, like I've done before, just snip up to the corner, lift up, stick down, trim the corner off, and flatten. So you need to do that on the other album cover, and then you want to edge the short edges of the spine just with a piece of tape, and you just fold it half on, half off over the edge. And you do that on both of the short edges, and then just trim off the excess. Like that. Don't worry if your tape doesn't come quite to the edge, because these long edges are going to be covered. Just a couple of tips. If when you've done all of that, you've got chipboard showing quite close to a corner, you can just colour it in with a black pen, or you can take a piece of tape, place it right up by the corner at an angle, and then fold it really tightly and stick it down on the other side, and then your corner is covered. But don't forget, when your paper goes on, the paper is going to go right up to within 1/8 of an inch of the edge, so you're not going to see any of this at all, really. So now we're going to join the spine to the covers. So you want to take your tape and rip off a piece that is about 1.5 inches longer than the length of the spine, and stick it over one edge of the spine, half on, half off. Doesn't have to be precise, but it just needs to be at least 1/4 inch. if you've gone a bit wonky, that's fine, but at least 1/4 of an inch over the chipboard and the rest sticking out. And then flip it over and then place your cover, the undecorated edge or the unbound edge of your cover, over the top of the spine. Line up the side edges, you can do that with your fingers, and then press it down onto your work surface, onto the sticky side of the tape, and then right over away from you, and then press down on the tape that's on the chipboard but not on the ends. Open out, put it so that it's sitting at the right width, and then bring your tails over and stick them down. And assembling your album that way, there's no pressure on that fold, so the tape won't rip. And then you cover the inside with tape to within about 1/4 of an inch of the bottom edge of your covers. I'm just going to trim that top edge. Again, the tape ends get hidden. A guide is you could put tape from the edge of the black at the top to the edge of the black at the bottom, and then you won't go too far. And then you just fold your spine over, and the tape, both sides of the tape, sticks to themselves, and you get a really neat seam. And then we're going to do it again. So you want to flip over to the right side, take another piece of tape 1.5 inches longer at each end of the spine, and stick it half on, half off. Turn over, bring in your other album cover, sit it over the top of the spine, undecorated edge, line up the side edges, so we're going to lift the whole piece up, and when you've got your side edges lined up, press down onto your surface, being careful not to catch the ends of the tape, and then bring it towards you. Press the tape down on the chipboard, open out, pull, so you get the right width of gap, and then bring those tail ends in. And then cover the gap. Press everything down neatly, and then fold up your spine to stick both sides of the tape together. And that's the start of the album. If you want to add gilding wax or gilding paste to the edges of your completed album cover or binder, now's the time to do it before you start sticking papers on. The tape takes the gilding paste really, really well, and it gives a lovely professional finish to your project. So to assemble the inside of the album, the first thing you want to do is take a good quality double-sided tape and put a strip down either side of the gap between spine and cover, about 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch away. You don't have to completely cover this with tape, but just either side. That's going to grab the card and help it to ease into that gap. And then take your spine cover, and this you want to centre between the top and bottom edges with an even gap, because this is the guide for your page line, and then stick it down over the spine. Press down really firmly, and then just gently ease up each of the covers, and you'll see the card falls into the gap. The tape's holding it. You don't need to cover this piece either completely in tape. You can over tape, and if you over tape, the card can't drop into the gaps between the cover and the spine, and you'll find that your spine rips. So that's the spine mount on. And now we need to assemble the spines themselves. So there are 3 little spine pieces to this album. The 2-inch one that is scored at 1/2 inch. On one of the outside 1/2 inch tabs, you just want to snip the corners off, and then using a bone folder, you want to make sure that all of your creases, or all of the fold lines, are creased nicely and will fold both ways. So I like to concertina them up, open them out, and then crease them again in the opposite direction, because you want your pages to fold freely once this is in the album. So do that with all of your pieces so that you've got nice foldy score lines. And then we're going to start with the smallest of the other two pieces. So this is the 2.5 inch piece, and you want to fold up the side inch, so that leaves you with the centre 1/2 inch, and put glue on that centre. You can put double-sided tape if you want to, but then add a little bit of glue and that gives you some wiggle time. Just some top tips on adding glue to your project. You don't need to have tons and tons of glue sitting on the spine, great big white blobs, because it will ruckle the card and ooze out, and also takes ages to grab and to dry. But if you scrape it out, smooth it down so that you've got more of a bloom than a white line of glue, that will stick much better. So then you want to put your glue on there, open this piece out, centre it over the other piece so you can use the outer score line as your guide, lining up top and bottom edges, and then press down the centre to stick it into place. And then if you fold up each side and repress, that will stick the whole piece down nicely. And then take your scissors and just snip off the corner of the outer spine, just that outer 1/2 inch. Stick it on my scissors. And then those are ready for the pages to sit on. So just to the crease line. And then this little album has got an extra page in it, and that's what this is for. It's the extra spine mount. So what you want to do is fold all of those pieces over. So I'm folding the right hand spine mount over on the second fold, and this little piece, the first 1/2 inch, is going to stick underneath this one. So you want to put a little bit of glue under there, smooth it out, make sure it's right up to the edge, and then position that. If you concertina this up, you can position it over that 1/2 inch section really easily. Line up your top and bottom edges and press down into place. And then you've got that extra mount for page number 5 sitting in there. And then we're going to add this into the album. So we're going to put glue on the 2 inch section plus the first of the 1/2 inch sections of the piece that we've just added, leaving the 2 1/2 inch mounts. You could fold those underneath if you want to. So glue again, let's fold that side underneath, and then you can see where we're gluing. Just hold it like that. Spread your glue out. Make sure that it goes right to the edges. And then turn it over and centre it, lining up top and bottom edges with the top and bottom edges of the black card covering the spine. Move it around until you're happy that it's sitting nice and straight between the edges of the spine. And when you're happy, press it down into place. So I'm just pressing each of those half-inch sections down nice and firmly. And that's it. Your spine mount is all ready. So once you've got your pages cut out, you want to take your scissors and just snip up to this score line on that middle score. So you're snipping in 1 inch, and then cut off the bottom corner. So that's the half-inch tab, and then just angle those bottom tabs. Then fold your page up, bringing the tab over the top of the untabbed section to make a pocket. Put a little bit of glue on the tab, spread it out and fold it over, and then just take your bone folder and run it down the page just to flatten the page and recrease that bottom edge. And then you've got a really nice flat pocket page. And then fold one side of that 1 inch tab back on itself to create that pocket opening. Now, a really useful thing, another use for the Ablac Signature construction tape, is that you can join your pages with it and pockets. So I'm just going to take a piece that is just under 1 inch long, and I'm going to take it. Before I do that, if you want to round the corners, now's the time to round the corners on these pieces before you secure that pocket in place. So I'm just using, I love this, it's a 1/8 of an inch We Are Memory Keepers corner chomper. So 1/8 and 3/8. It's my favourite new toy. So I'm just taking, it's 3/4 of an inch, 7/8 of an inch piece of tape, and I'm just sticking it over the ends of that 1 inch tab. And then you've got the full depth of that pocket. You haven't got tape sitting underneath the top and bottom edges. And then once your paper's on, you will never know that that's been taped. So that's how to put the page together. Make up the other 4, and then I'll show you how to put them in the album. So adding the pages to the album, we're going to start on the back tab, and we're going to put glue on the outer 1/2 inch section. So just make sure that it will fold nicely both ways. Lift it up, and we're going to glue on both sides. So a little bit of glue, don't overdo the glue, and then when you're working on the second side, just be careful that you don't touch anything with the first one. Spread your glue out on both sides. Take your pocket page, open it up so that you've got the pocket. You can put your hand in it if you want to. Makes it really easy to slide onto the tab. And then it's going to fit onto the first 1/2 an inch of this tab. So you just slot it on, and when you've got it on, you can take your hand out, push it down so that it's sitting on the first 1/2 inch. So you're pushing it down to the first fold line. And then it's really easy. You just fold the page over, press down, fold the page back, press down, and it's in place. You just want to make sure that it's sitting nice and straight between the top and bottom edges of the album. And when you're happy with that, then just give it a really firm press down to stick it for the last time. And then you do exactly the same with the next page. So glue on the outside 1/2 inch tab. Take your page, pop your hand in it. You need to make sure as well, let me just remember to tell you this, that all of your pocket sections, or that folded sections, are sitting on the top of your page when you put it on, or facing the front of the album. And the solid, wider part of the page is facing the back. So we slot it over down to the first 1/2 inch score line. And if you've cut your angles right at the bottom, it will slide on nicely. Line up top and bottom edges of this page with the page underneath, and when you're happy, press down. And then you can fold the page back on itself on that 1/2 inch score line. Fold it backwards and forwards, because the page has got that extra 1/2 inch lift on it. And that's it. Spine number 3. Glue both sides. Spread the glue out. Oh, that was a bad idea. Glue on 2 fingers. Let's get a cloth. Bring the page in. I'm just checking I've got lots of glue on that side, and I don't want it to ooze out. Open the page, slot it onto the spine, up to that score line, first score line. Line it up over the page beneath and stick it down. And then spine number 2. It's a really quick and easy book to build, and it does make a lovely project. So slot on. If you lift that spine up, you can only push the page up to the score line, that first score line. And the lovely thing about having the extended section on the spine is the pages sit flatter in the album as you open them up and flip through. A top tip to remember if you add this or use this spine on another project is, because there's an extra 1/2 inch on the spine, you have to reduce the page width by 1/2 inch. Otherwise your pages could end up being too big for the album. So just something to bear in mind if you like this extended spine idea and want to add it to your projects. Press it down. And that's it. The 5 little pages are in the album and all ready to decorate. So now your album's all ready to decorate, I thought I'd just take you through some tips on adding and cutting papers. Perhaps you can see it better here. I've cut a 1/4 inch wide strip here for the centre of the spine mounts, the section that sits down on the album, and then just put a little decoration in the middle. When you cut the pieces for this section, you can actually get 2 pages out of one piece of 8x8 paper. This piece is cut at 3 inches, so they're 5 3/8 of an inch deep. This piece is cut at 3 inches. This piece is 7/8 of an inch. So you could do that section and that section out of the same paper. And then this piece is 1 inch wide, or by 5 3/8 deep. And then this piece is the piece underneath here, is 4 7/8 wide by 5 3/8 deep. So a few measurements will take you through the whole of the album.